All right. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. Depends on where you are connected. Wow. Happy New Year to you on the Keyna Health Show. We are so excited to see you back, this particular year, and we really, really appreciate God. And you are so welcome. So today we are going to be discussing a fascinating, very interesting topic. I mean, it's a topic that is of concern to every one of us right now. What is going on? Tips to walk past Omicron variant of COVID-19. And not just Omicron alone, because we are reliably informed that even there has been another one that has been detected again. So we're going to be discussing all of this today on this show. So do me a favor, make sure you send this link to someone that will benefit from it. Remind your friends and let them know that Keyna Health Show is live. So I'm not alone. Of course, I have my co-panelists and co-host. I have the host also on the show, and we have our panelists that will be discussing the topic today. So I'm going to be bringing them one after another to introduce themselves. Let me start from Dr. Law. Over to you, sir.
Yes, my name is Lawrence Asando, nurse practitioner and a doctor of nursing practice. I have my practice in Maryland, Lanham, Maryland, and I'm an adult nurse practitioner. And part of this whole program, I've always appeared from time to time, do other ones every now and then in Nigeria. This is what I like to do, and I'm happy to be here today for Keyna Health Show. Thank you.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Over to you, Dr. Choma.
Hi, everyone. This is Chioma Ogunedo again, a family nurse practitioner lives in Boston, Massachusetts. We've been doing this show for a long time. Shout out to all members of the Keyna Health Show and Keyna Health Organization. I love this because it's a way to disseminate health information to people around the world. And I hope you're listening and doing what we're asking you to do. And I bless all of you. Thanks.
Awesome, awesome, and awesome. Over to you, Dr. Joe.
Yes, my name is Dr. Jovita Anyango. I'm a board certified internal medicine and also preventive medicine specialist. I practice out of Chicago area. Thank you.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So join me to welcome Senator Alex, my co-host.
Good evening, good morning, everybody. My name is Alex Wahire. I'm one of the co-hosts of this program. Thank you very much.
Awesome. So you are surprised that I call you Senator? Maybe that is a calling that you should start getting ready to.
Okay, preparing. That's okay.
Prepare for
I claim it
of
in
your
Jesus'
district right there.
I claim it.
I mean, you have somebody like Dr. Law, you have somebody like Dr. Choma, all of them will support you, and I'm here. Just give me contracts. Okay, join me to welcome the host of this show, Dr. Keyna, as she welcome you and introduce today's topic.
Hello, everyone. Hello, viewers from all over the world, and Happy New Year to everyone. Welcome to Keyna Health Show. This is our first show for 2022, and it's funny enough that about this time last year, our topic was COVID-19, and little did we know that 1 year later, we will still be in it with all the various variants that have been popping up and ravaging the whole society. It has affected both young, old, born and unborn, finances. And what do we do? How do we move on? How do we get past COVID-19? So today we are going to discuss what we need to do to stay safe, keep our families safe, and keep moving on with life. We have our panelists that are not new to this program. They walked us through it last year. They are here again today to give us tips on how to keep moving on in the midst of COVID-19 and its new variants. Welcome to the show.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Thank you so much for that introduction. So I'm going to be handing over to my co-host, Mr. Alex, as he paddles the canoe of this show today. Over to you, Mr. Alex.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Emmanuel. As usual, we need to let our viewers, our listeners understand what this variant is and why it has been so called. And it's also, it may be necessary for us to re-establish all the former variants. So, Dr. Law, let me start with you. What is the Omicron and why is it so called? And then what were the earlier variants? And then we just look at that before we get to the next question.
Okay. Omicron is one of the variants of this COVID-19 that has ravaged the entire world since the last 2 years. Every now and then, we hear that a different variant has sprung up from somewhere. I remember the Delta variant that was a source of concern a few months or years ago. But now we have the Omicron that was said to have taken origin from South Africa. And before you know it, a lot of Nigerians got it, and it's nearly crippled movement around the world, especially as it affected Nigeria and some African countries. But now it's everywhere, so nobody's afraid of anything anymore. I think most of the flights have been resumed in different parts of the world. The Omicron virus is a specific virus of the COVID class, but it has a lot of, it spreads so fast that it became very, very difficult for people to understand how to deal with it. And while we were at home at Christmas, there was pandemonium in the United States of America, even in our clinics. People were flooding with a lot of such cases, which means it was spreading very fast and causing a lot of havoc, and even causing death, even amongst those who were vaccinated in some of few cases. So let me stop here so that others will add the experience with this virus. Thank you.
All right. So before Mr. Alex continues, just a quick information for our audience. Please kindly make sure that you type in your name and your location. And remember, this is two-way communication. So for us to be able to get your questions also, please do us a favor. Make sure that you type in your questions. And if you have, you need to authorize Facebook sometimes to stream your comment. So you can visit our www.streamyard.com/Facebook. That will give Facebook authorization to share your comment. And do us some favor also, if you are connecting on YouTube, make sure that you subscribe to this YouTube channel and share this video with somebody else. God bless you. Over to you, Mr. Alex.
Yeah, let's continue talking about the definition, explanation of the Omicron variant and its allied variants. So, Dr. Jovita, over to you, and thereafter, Chioma will make his comments.
Yes, I agree with what Dr. Law has said. Basically, the Omicron virus is just a form of the coronavirus with multiple mutations. In actual fact, it's documented to have over 50 mutations. 33 of those, about 30, above 30 of those mutations are the spike protein. And the spike protein is what the virus uses to attach to the cell. So with that much mutation, the virus is able to evade the defenses of the natural defenses. So it is a more infectious disease. It is at least 100 times more effective than the last Delta virus. The doubling time for its infectivity is only about 2 to 3 days. So making it very infectious. And as the symptoms are similar. The only difference is that it does not attach as much. It does not multiply as much in the lungs. So making the previous Delta presentation of lung disease less common with it. Otherwise, the symptoms are very similar to the Omicron virus. It was first described by scientists in South Africa. I think the specimens were collected around November 11th or something, specimens from Botswana and other places. But later on, it has been shown that actually was already in UK prior to the discovery in UK, US, and Nigeria prior to the discovery in South Africa on specimens that were analyzed. Thank you.
Yeah, Dr. Chioma, before you go on, I want to formally condole Dr. Jovita Anyanwu on behalf of the members of this panel and on behalf of Keyna Health Show over the loss of his dear daughter. We share your grief and we ask God to console you and give you the strength to bear the loss with fortitude. We appreciate you. We love you. Thank you very much for coming on the program. Dr. Chioma, over to you. Okay.
All right. Thank you, fellow panelists. You guys have already described this Omicron virus, but there's something I read the other time about a CDC description of variants, because the question I hear from most people is, what do you mean by all these variants? And they use an analogy that I've really, really liked. It's like a tree with branches, different branches. And if you look at the branches, no two branches are the same. So this is what is happening with the COVID virus. It keeps coming, it keeps mutating, it keeps changing shapes. So it's like, from what I see, it's like we are chasing it. The scientists are chasing their tails, trying to figure out how to attack the next one that comes. Some are very severe, some are not. Like Dr. Jovita and Dr. Locke rightly mentioned. Right now, the symptoms seems to be the same, but the severity appears not to be as bad as the Delta or the COVID-19 virus. So this will be just a synopsis of what I know about the Omicron and how it's affecting all of us. Thank you.
Dr. Jovita, I have a follow-up question. I notice in clinical practice, like every day, we see patients with COVID throughout the day and week. And I've noticed that with this variant, most patients that are coming into the clinic are no longer complaining of loss of taste and smell. What are the differences, or are there much differences between the symptoms that patients present with this Omicron?
That is correct. You're absolutely correct. The loss of sense of taste and smell is lower with this Omicron. It's not as common. It's actually rare. The most common symptoms with this Omicron is usually fatigue, cough, nasal congestion, and then a runny nose. Those are the most common symptoms. Then the lung presentation is less. The loss of sense of smell is less. Headache is less. And but as far as the severity of the symptoms, this is the keynote to it. The disease by nature, the COVID by its nature might be less severe due to the multiple mutations. However, we should also be aware of the fact that most of the hosts may have been already exposed to the vaccine or to the natural infection. So by that might decrease the tendency of the severity of the disease, irrespective of the actual effect of the disease. So what will happen in future is, if an area where people were not exposed, like some parts of China, where there is no exposure at all, that they are naive to this Omicron virus, then we might be able to tell if it's really less severe or not.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and that takes us to the speed of the speed at which it spreads. So, Dr. Law, which one would you consider to be faster? Is it the earlier variants or the present one?
Well, when Omicron started, it was late last year. But by December, almost 90-something% of the COVID at that time became Omicron, which means the rate at which Omicron spreads is much faster than any of the variants that we have experienced earlier. So Omicron now has beat everybody to it. But there are some other things also that Omicron would not do that those other variants we are doing. They act differently. And when we get to that stage, we start analyzing which one is more serious in its attack on human beings, and which one has caused more death, and which one is most likely to cause more death. So I've had some experience with some of my patients. Yeah, the day I was a little bit alarmed was when one of my patients came in and told me that his family member, a married man who was fully vaccinated, and her wife fully vaccinated, both of them were taken to the hospital, and they died from this virus. That was the day I was a little bit scared. I thought all the vaccinations we are taking, we are able to at least make them less potent in dealing with all the patients who have this virus. But we are still watching because this is still not conclusive about what we need to do to adjust to this new situation and condition. Thank you.
I have just another comment to add, and I wanted to ask Dr. Chioma if you were aware of the differences. I'm sorry, I'm going back a little bit, because I know some people are out there that are confused. Many patients are telling me it's my seasonal allergy. I'm sure I had the flu because it felt like a flu, and it is not COVID. How do they figure out if it's flu, their seasonal allergy, or COVID? Because some of them told me the difference between COVID and this Omicron and flu is that with flu, you have runny nose. With Omicron, you have congestion. Do you have more information about the signs and symptoms?
I would like to say that the signs and symptoms of flu, seasonal allergy, and Omicron mimic each other. For instance, I got vaccinated and I had my booster. And when I had the booster, I had fever-like symptoms, stuffy nose. And 2 days later, I went to test and I was positive. And I'm like, wow, here we go. So, like Dr. Law said, being vaccinated doesn't preclude you from getting the virus. And if you're in doubt, if you're having all those symptoms, I think the best thing would be to do the test. If it's possible, you can get the home test and do it. If your doctor can prescribe for you to go, or your practitioner can prescribe for you to go get tested, you can go get tested. There's no clear-cut symptoms that will tell you right now in this day and age that what you have is flu, because also I got the flu shot. So, and I usually suffer from seasonal allergies. So I was on Allegra at that point. So all these symptoms, they mimic my old symptoms of flu and seasonal allergy. And then come to find out it was Omicron that I had. So what I will say is when you have such symptoms and you're really, really, really symptomatic, please go and test to make sure what you have is not the virus. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Jovita, do you have any input to the confliction many patients are having trying to self-diagnose themselves at home?
Well, to tell you, it depends on the spread at that particular location. When there is very little flu around an area, and if it is during the peak of the Omicron virus, it is clinically likely going to be Omicron virus because that is what is circulating in that area at that time. However, I do agree with Dr. Chioma that there is no particular symptom that will be pathognomic of Omicron virus. So it's similar. And therefore, the only things that we point you to is what is happening in that environment. Because if something is circulating, it's an infectious disease, it goes from one person to another. And then as far as the question about, which is a very important, as far as the question about how people who are vaccinated are being affected, it is true. Am I still on?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hello?
Yes, you
But
are. We can hear you.
We can hear you. Go ahead.
We can hear you.
go ahead,
Go
go
ahead.
ahead.
Okay, Mr. Alex, you can take over.
Okay, one important area that has popped up from what the panelists are discussing is this issue of whether immunity from previous infection can stop Omicron. We have cases of people who have had all the variants whenever they come. We have cases of people who picked one or two. We also have cases of people who never had any. And I'm asking, what is responsible for this variation? Is it because those who have never had it have a high level of immunity, or because they are very lucky, or is it because they are too cautious? So what is the explanation? Let me start with Dr. Law.
Yes, just like Dr. Keyna was asking, whether there's anything different from some of these variants and the regular rhinitis or ordinary common flu. We don't have time yet to begin to isolate these issues and then find out which one is what. It's just like when something is heading towards your eyes. You blink. You don't have time to begin to check whether that thing will be dangerous or not. So what we are doing now is trying to do the safest thing we can for the populace to prevent death and to keep them alive. This thing is a moving target. Just like any now and then you see differences in what is happening, what is coming up. So it is difficult for us to really begin to have some time to differentiate some of these things and be able to say, this is the exact situation. It is difficult to do at this point. There's some kind of confusion in the government and everywhere. They thought by now this thing would have settled down. But it is giving them a lot of concern. So such that the doctors and everybody are trying to do the safest thing they can at this point. So that's how I can stop at this time so that other people contribute. Thank you.
Dr. Choma, you can continue. Okay. Dr. Jovita, are you back?
Yes, I'm back. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Got cut off.
You know what? I would have loved to, since we have an infection public health person here, I'd like him to jump in if it's possible.
Did you get, okay, Dr. Jovita, did you get my question?
No, I didn't. I'm sorry.
My question is that since this COVID palaver began, some people have picked all the variants. Some did not pick any. Some picked some. We are told, those who have had it, that the immunity they acquired from it was going to be very protective. But from what is happening, there is no clear settlement of any conclusions. And so I'm asking, those who picked all the ones, is it because they were careless or their immunity was low? Those who picked none all this while, are they lucky? Or is it because they were too cautious? So what is the explanation in these various ways in which people have reacted or been affected by this pandemic?
Yes, there is different reasons for that. It's not going to be one reason. But the factors that you have to look at is, one, some people may have picked up the infection without actually manifesting any symptoms. So we don't actually know the true incidence or prevalence of the disease, because it's only when you are sick and tested that you know that you had COVID. So that is one. The second aspect of it is some people may have some mutation in their ACE2 in their system that may make it impossible, may make it difficult for the virus to attack them, because the virus has to get into the cell by binding into the angiotensin converting enzyme 2. So if you have your own mutation already there, it may be very difficult for the virus to bind there, therefore making you a little naturally more resistant to it. Then the second aspect is they've sprayed. The problem we are having with the virus is peaking at different places at different times. So we keep having all these mutations. But my optimistic view is that it will reach a certain point where those people who are already vaccinated, have received booster dose, and probably already exposed, may have such a variety of immunity or exposure to the different variants that in future they will be so resistant to the disease that it will be so mild that we will not be crying over it. But in those countries where the people are not fully vaccinated, that might be where where they don't have enough percentage of vaccinated people to give them that head kind of immunity, will be where we will have major problems in future.
So before Mr. Alex continues, so when you talk about people that have already been vaccinated, so are you talking about something like this? Like, okay, maybe the first one, they have the second, they have the booster. So now when you don't have somewhere to take, so what do you do in this kind of situation?
Was that question directed to me?
Yeah, that's the question.
Actually,
that is so funny.
I'm not sure what to tell you.
Funny.
But what I will tell you is that what is being known is that people who are vaccinated with the mRNA virus, mRNA vaccines, that are fully vaccinated will do a little better, and that are boosted. And also people that have had the natural infection, they do retain some kind of immunity. So the disease is not as severe. And as of the few people who may have other pre-morbid conditions, that they may still die from the infection, but it's because of their other pre-existing conditions that we may not be aware of.
Thank you, Dr. Jovita. I have another question. So, a couple of weeks ago, the FDA did announce that they are endorsing Moderna and Pfizer. However, if you have any patient that comes through and wants to still get Johnson & Johnson, you can still give them Johnson & Johnson. But 2 weeks ago, I read an article that stated that Johnson & Johnson is actually very effective over Omicron. What is the state of Johnson & Johnson shots? Because I realize both CVS and Walgreens, they do not carry Johnson & Johnson anymore. Could you give us some?
Well, that is the studies that showed that the Johnson & Johnson was the least effective. So that's why they're advising people, if you have Johnson & Johnson, you should at least add an mRNA virus. And then also the Johnson & Johnson has some side effects. And even with the Delta virus, the efficacy was slightly lower. So because of those, it looks like most people, and to be honest with you, I will not recommend Johnson & Johnson to my patients, except if they really want it, because the efficacy is way lower. There is the risk of blood clots that is more, and then of course that kind of throws you away. But it's only for convenience that people want to take just the one shot. So the advice is, even if you got Johnson & Johnson, when you get boosted, you do better when you add a Moderna, and this is based upon science or studies. Right.
Thank you. Mr. Alex.
Okay. Wow. So to what extent, like we've been talking about the vaccine and its ability to reduce the severity. Now let us go to the area of complications. What are the complications that follow this COVID? Because we understand that a lot of people get this COVID and it refuses to go away. Even after it is believed it has been treated, it continues to linger on. So what has been the experience those of you in the field has been experiencing over the COVID? Dr. Jovita, let's start with you.
Okay, so the question is about the long COVID syndrome, which is when you still have symptoms way after you have been deemed to have recovered from COVID, which sometimes is after 8 weeks or 4 more. The experience is so variable that is still being studied. There are people who didn't even have any symptoms of COVID, but they still suffer from the long COVID syndrome. And the long COVID syndrome affects every organ. It is almost like an inflammatory system. So it is something that nobody actually knows exactly how to treat at this moment. However, studies have shown that some people do improve with the use of by getting vaccination if they weren't previously vaccinated. And vaccination does reduce long COVID syndrome. In my experience, I haven't had many people with long COVID syndrome who were fully vaccinated before they got the COVID. But I have had quite a few of the long COVID syndrome, and nobody knows how long it will last. Some of it is believed to be still due to ongoing infection in the cells that is destroying the cells and causing the problem. So it's still an ongoing field that is being studied, and more information will be coming out as we go. The Omicron virus, we don't know yet about much of the long COVID syndrome because it's just still new, and it has a very short period. It lasts a lot shorter. The duration of the symptoms, which I didn't mention before, is actually shorter than those of Delta and the previous variants.
Okay, Keyna.
Yeah, Dr. Law, do you have anything to add? What have been your experience with these patients in your facility?
Yes, when some of the patients go through COVID, they have some period of recuperation, and within that period, some of them continue to cough, occasionally dry cough, and some of them have ended up having desaturation due to the COVID. Sometimes causes atelectasis of some parts of the lung, which means the lung will not continue to inflate at its capacity to make available oxygen to the alveoli of the lungs. So there are certain residual effects of COVID to some of the patients. So some patients continue to use oxygen for some time before they fully recover. So that is the major thing I have found with some of the patients that went through COVID. So any other thing is just like a regular recuperation process. Thank you.
Now let us look at if somebody is vaccinated and another person is not, and the two people are infected with COVID, do they have different symptoms? Or because one is vaccinated, one is not vaccinated? Is there a little bit of differences in the symptoms they exhibit?
I wouldn't say there's a difference in symptoms, but there's severity of symptoms. Like both Dr. Jovita and Dr. Law pointed out, if you have COVID and you're vaccinated, your period of is shorter. Your symptoms are not as severe. But if you're vaccinated and you have the symptoms and you really get sick, then you're in for a bad ride. You're going to be hospitalized in most cases, intubated, and then end up suffering from post-COVID syndrome. And that's most of the people that will always tell you, oh, if I had known. So if you had known, you would have taken the vaccine. So the best thing is just take the vaccine. Don't be as sick or who never got the vaccine. The only time, you will not get the vaccine is if the doctor had told you not to take the vaccine because of other comorbid conditions that you have. But if you're qualified to get the vaccine, it will lessen your symptoms. Like I told you, I had it. I had the COVID, but my symptoms wasn't as bad as someone who didn't have COVID vaccine. So vaccine is the main way to stop the spread of this virus. So even if it comes to my area, a majority of us are vaccinated. So we've had the herd immunity from the vaccine. If we get the COVID, it's not going to be as bad as people who never had. So that's all I have to say about it.
So just before we continue, yeah, you said something like a post-COVID syndrome. Could you just expand a little bit more about that? What does that mean, and what are those syndromes? What are those signs?
The post-COVID syndromes are those things that Dr. Jovita and Dr. Law, extended decrease in oxygen levels. Some compensate, need oxygen. Some people have chronic headache, and some people have neurological symptoms that they tell you I'm beginning to be forgetful. So those are some of the symptoms you have after COVID. Some people, not everybody. So if they're presenting with that, the doctors know what direction to go. Oh, this person had COVID before. And when they're treating, they're watching out to see if it extends or is going to stop at a point.
Awesome.
Dr. Jovita, one question that I have for you, is there a difference between now let me rephrase it. When patients go for testing for COVID test, are they told which variant they have? Which test can provide the specific variant that the patient might have?
Yes, most of the patients are not told which variant they have. Usually, if they do the PCR test and it's positive, it depends on which part of the state you are, because the genomic testing, they have to do the genetic mapping to be able to tell you the variant. So it's not done on all the tests. What they do is, like, if they are monitoring it, they do 20 or 30. They take a percentage of it. They get a feeling of how much is circulating in the society. So it's not done on every one of them. So right now, like, it's almost like 100% in my area of Omicron virus. So what they do is they do spot checks to make sure that most of the tests will tell you that it's positive for COVID.
Okay.
Does it affect the treatment?
And the rapid test also does not specify which variant you have.
So how do you now treat? Is it the same treatment that you give to all of them?
I didn't get your question.
I say, since you are not very specific in the terms of the variant, how does it guide you in the treatment? Does it mean it's the same treatment?
The treatment is not very different. And the thing is, when one particular variant dominates, so you already know that if somebody in Illinois now has COVID, you're almost certain, or 98% certain, is going to be the Omicron virus. And the treatment, which is a good thing now in America, because we have a lot of treatment now that are very effective, that is not available other parts of the world. So those are the things. And as far as the treatment is concerned, the treatment is the same, it's similar. There is no much difference apart from hydrating the patient, supporting the body, the systemic manifestations, and also treating the patient with either you either treat them with immunotherapy or you treat them with antivirus, depending on what is available and the other manifestations of the patient and the risk factor for severe disease.
Okay.
All right. Dr. Keyna, you have any follow-up question?
No, I wanted us, I know the time is running past us, so I wanted us to go ahead and start wrapping up and just educate our audience. How do we continue to stay safe in the society? Dr. Law.
Yeah, sorry before Dr. Law goes, because to me, as a, should I say, maybe an observer right now, you know, it looks like many people don't even take the COVID serious like the way we before, like 2 years ago. If they say somebody had COVID, it's like it was like a death sentence. You know, everybody began to panic. But right now, people are even praying that they should have it. And I have a friend that in their school they asked 10 teachers to go for test. Out of those 10 teachers, 7 tested positive. So it means they had to stay at home. And she was really, she wanted to be positive because she too wants to stay at home because they're going to pay them. So as I start saying that, why will you be praying that she went to 3 places to test just to be sure that she wanted to be positive. So does that mean that, because is this how we going to continue? Is this going to end? When is it going to end? I'm just asking questions now as what a layman will ask, because we have flu shots that we're taking, and there is all this rumor that, okay, COVID vaccine also is just going to be like a flu shot as time goes on, that we have to be taking it continuously. So what do we have to say about all of this?
I think there's not much we can do but to wait and see and pray and believe that maybe this will be the last variant that might come and cause any kind of curiosity and havoc around the place. And that when most people get vaccinated, that vaccination should be able to give such herd immunity that whatever variant that comes will be able to not do much in terms of creating healthcare issues for our people. So that is only a wish, because by this time last year, we thought we were almost heading to the end of everything in COVID, but something else came up. So there's no way to find out whether something else is going to come out tomorrow or next. So that's all I can say about that. But to answer Dr. Keyna's question, now we have availability of COVID test kits, so we can test somebody instantly. When somebody comes into my clinic and he mentions any of the symptoms, I quickly grab my test kit and find out whether the person has COVID. If the person doesn't have COVID, then it is business as usual with the regular patient. So, and sometimes we give them this kit to go home, so that the more people we know that have this thing, the more we are prepared for the situation. And then we are continuing to wear masks, and everybody is still wearing masks and being cautious, even though there's a fatigue, this COVID fatigue that people are saying, to hell with this, if he wants to kill us, let him kill us. There are people who have that mentality who don't care about COVID, mask, and all that. And the government is also beginning to relax a little bit about enforcing these things, because you cannot forever continue to hold people to ransom because of fear of COVID infection, especially when people have gotten the infection and survived it, and those who have died. You just tend to bluff it and say, let me go my way and live my life. So that's what the situation is at this time. I believe we have something that may come up that may resolve this whole matter finally and completely.
All right. Thank you so much. Just before we begin to wrap up today's show, I saw something, and I hope my screen will show. Let me see if you guys can see this. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I saw this, and I was when I saw it. Let me bring it a little bit bigger. Okay. Does that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. So I saw this, and I mean, just talking about tracking Omicron and other coronavirus variants. So I mean, everything we've talked about anyway. Some people just love to be visual. The variant was first identified in South Africa, blah 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 blah. Then here we have Omicron carries about 50 mutations, which we've discussed, including 30 mutations in the gene for the spike protein that the coronavirus uses to attack the human. So, I mean, I know all these ones are just grammar. So we have Omicrons, we have all these diagrams. Then we talk about the waves of variants. Many variants of the SARS CoV-2 coronavirus. All this English, we have the Delta. Then we have the current variants of concern. So we have the Omicron, which we've been discussing, but we have Delta, we have Gamma, Beta, Alpha. I mean, I know that God is only the Alpha and Omega, but here now, Omicron, we are having some of all these variants. We have Alpha, we have Beta, current variants of interest. We have MU, we have Lambda, mutations that may help the corona spread, all of these. So, I mean, I just, looking at all of these, I just feel that people still needs to be educated, because it's like, especially a country like Nigeria, I mean, we have many audience in Nigeria. They still believe that, even some of them still believe all these are just conspiracy theory, because nothing is really happening. And even if they want to be tested, how many people, we have access to that. So I just want us to touch that part of the word a little bit. Apart from, I know we are praying, I know many churches are fasting, and I know that God answers prayer. But apart from fasting and praying, what can we tell somebody? I know they will say, oh, they've started again, but somebody will still listen. So apart from all this we have talked about, what do we think? Maybe somebody will spread this video, send this video, it will land at one desk of one politicians or one government officials, who knows? So what can we I just want us to address, especially Nigeria, because it just looks like, okay, nothing is really happening. Even with everything we are talking about now, it's like nothing is really happening right there. Let Dr. Choma can just, I know we have 30 minutes to go.
Exactly. I have a first-hand experience, because I was able to travel to Nigeria during this Christmas period. And when I arrived, I wore my mask, and I was trying to do the distancing thing, and wash my hands and stuff. And people kept saying to me, "Why are you wearing masks?" So I turned it around. I said, if I tell them to prevent me getting the virus, they will laugh at me. So I said, I'm protecting you from me, because I just flew in. And they're like, okay. So I did it for at least 10 days, and they got used to it. So, but what I'm trying to say is that I'm also thinking about the cultural effect, and also the demographic of Nigeria and what people do. If you look at it in the villages, they don't go to offices. The only places that they go that is crowded are the churches and marketplaces. So who are these people? Can they afford to have a test? Most of them cannot afford to have a test. So the education we are doing for them was, try to wear masks. Some of them listen, try to wash your hands, and we give out some sanitizers. So when you do all that, they know that you care for them and you care about them, and you tell them also, if you have symptoms, please go to your doctor. But I noticed that a lot of them didn't have symptoms, and they will say to me, oh, the dust is killing the virus. So there's a lot of things we need to change. Maybe we can use the churches and local places where they gather to teach them about the virus, hand washing, using sanitizer, staying 6 feet, cough into your elbow, don't spread the virus. If you know you're sick, please stay home. So those were the simple things that we did. But are they getting it? I don't think so. So we need to keep, talking about it to see how many people, because once one person gets it in a family, she will, especially the mothers, they tell their children. So it's difficult to actually tell them not to, because they don't have many facilities like we have here, like so we just have to teach them how to survive in this day, and age. Thank you.
It is well.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah, we got
Dr. Love. You want to add to what she has said?
Can you hear me?
I can't hear you clearly.
Go ahead,
I think
talk.
Yeah, did you hear what Dr. Choma said? I said, do you have anything to add to what she has said?
I still can't hear. Your voice is muffled.
Okay,
really?
are you hearing me?
I can't.
Okay, so it's your network. We need to begin to pray. So, Dr. Joe, can you hear me clearly?
Dr. Jovita can jump in.
Yes, to be honest with you, I am surprised that the
We can
disease
hear
is not spreading widely in Nigeria.
Okay.
And I do believe that there may be some reason for that. So when it's not spreading widely in a community, they tend to ignore the basic principles. However, the principles remain the same. If anybody get vaccinated, keep your distance from any person, wear your mask, wash your hands. It's just that same basic thing that we protect people. And as far as the information, it is up to everybody to try to inform people correctly, because there's a lot of disinformation everywhere. So the people are in a very bad.
Your voice is in and out.
Is in and out?
Yes.
Maybe it's the connection.
Good. Yeah, it's better now. Yeah, I know.
Now.
Just because we start talking about the government and Nigeria, I believe a politician just discovered that people and you are sending some signal to take our voices down, but it's a lie. So continue.
Yeah. So all I'm advising, everybody should be educating their people. That's the only way, because there's a lot of misinformation.
Okay. Yes, can I add something?
Yeah, if you're back online, go ahead.
Yes, now I can understand what usually I've said. We need to keep doing what we've been doing before. There's no change because the situation has not changed. I also mentioned that the government is making a lot of efforts to give free test kits so that people will identify their health condition in time so that they get some help. But it's also noteworthy to mention that in Nigeria, despite the fact that they are lax in their behavioral attitude towards protecting themselves from the other person, they still don't have such prevalence as we had that happened during the Christmas while we are here. So heat becomes the only factor we think that helps to subdue Omicron virus and all the other COVID coronavirus variants. Remember that each time we come to the winter period, there's a surge. It happened last year and it happened this year as well. So cold conditions favor this Omicron. So heat is what we need to put in place to prevent the same from causing havoc. So I think that's why Africa and Nigeria, they have not glittered the street like somebody predicted in those days. So that's what I think is different. But let's keep doing what we're doing. Nothing has changed. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think our time is far spent. I don't know if any of the co-host or the host has anything to add before we begin to wrap up and give our closing thoughts.
Go ahead.
Okay. So once again, we just want to appreciate all our viewers. I know this is a very wide topic, but all what we are just saying is that just try to keep yourself safe, understand what is going on, and just if you have any symptoms, see your doctor immediately. And if you are tested positive, I mean, it's not a death warrant. What you need to do, those are the things we've been talking about. And just in case you are connecting right now, make sure that you watch this video from beginning to the end and share it with somebody. Then subscribe to this YouTube channel in case you are watching on YouTube. And if you are watching this on Facebook, do us some favor, just share this. It doesn't cost you anything. It costs all these panelists their time, sacrifice for them to show up right on this show. And nobody is paying them. But of course, we know that God will compensate for their time. So thank you so much for showing up today. So we're going to begin to tidy up and just wrap up. So as usual, we normally give what we call a closing remark. So if you have just 1 minute to summarize and to tell somebody something about the topic that we'll be discussing. The topic today is tips. Okay, and we'll just be sharing different tips to walk past this Omicron variant. So what would that be? So I'm going to start from Dr. Choma. Just a minute. Your elevator pitch.
My elevator pitch. Thank you so much. This has been a wonderful discussion period. I want to thank my fellow panelists, Dr. Law, Sandra, and Dr. Jovita. And I just want to say to the public that we are here for you, and we would like you to be safe, stay safe, wear your mask, get vaccinated, and teach your friends and families the importance of being healthy by getting the vaccination. Don't be afraid of the vaccine. Like Dr. Manuel said, jab 1, jab 2, jab 3, and the other ones. We might be getting more. Remember the flu vaccine? We take it every year, and the Omicron vaccine is going to be the same thing. Thank you, and have a blessed day.
Thank you so much. Dr. Jovita.
Thank you, everybody. My wish for everybody is to stay healthy, follow the instructions that are given. Please avoid all the misinformation that is going around. The COVID is real. It's not a conspiracy. Follow the simple precautions, which is repeated several times. There is no need to repeat them again. But if you get sick, seek help. There is medications available. There is prophylaxis available, and hopefully, very soon it will be getting out to Nigeria and other places where even if people get the COVID, they'll be able to take medication for 5 days, and then that will decrease their chances of dying from it. So we are getting to the close of the battle. My prediction is that the COVID is going to become less and less significant. It might never go away. It's probably going to be endemic, and come from seasonal, just like the flu or something. Thank you, everybody. And
thank you so much. And I say amen to all the prayer you pray that all of those stuff will get to Nigeria. Over to you, Dr. Law.
Yes, everybody should stay cool, stay calm. It's not a death sentence. If you get the virus, please get some help, and then make sure you get your vaccine, get vaccinated. I do not countenance with all those conspiracy theories about the vaccinations. I've taken my vaccinations, I've given it to people, and so I don't believe it's that dangerous. It will protect you. So that's all I have to say about this. Please get your vaccination. It has helped so many. Otherwise, we'll be talking about a different world now without that vaccination. That's what I have to say about it.
Thank you so much. And over to you, Mr. Alex. What will you say is your take home today from
my
the discussion?
take home has to do with you being advised to make sure you wear your mask regularly. Keep washing your hands as regular as you can, and make sure you take the vaccine. And most significantly, we are coming to the end of the pandemic. I mean, and finally, most of the modern medications will be arriving in Nigeria in no distant time. So
Amen.
it's not
Amen.
easy.
That's another prayer. Amen. Amen. Once again, my name is Emmanuel Adekola. Thank you so much for connecting with us today. And over to you, Dr. Keyna, to wrap up the show.
Dr. Keyna, before you say something, I would like you to remind your viewers that you are going to have a show on my radio on Wednesday by 11 o'clock in Nigeria, so that it's all part of the health issue. Thank you.
I sure will do that. Thank you, everyone, our viewers, for connecting with us again. The beginning of 2022, our very first show. Thank all the panelists for all the work that you've been doing for Keyna Health Show, and we promise to continue to provide evidence-based information for your health to stay healthy and live a robust life. If you are in Mesquite area or Dallas area, Crystal Family Clinic can provide your COVID testing. We do rapid testing, PCR testing, antibody testing. We provide COVID vaccines. We have Moderna, Pfizer, and the kits. And yes, we do have Johnson & Johnson for those that believe that only Johnson & Johnson will work for them. And come over, get your first shot, second shot, your booster shots, and join us, Dr. Laura and David Omenico Foundation at my radio on Wednesday, 11 a.m. Nigerian time, when we bring you another enlightening section about World Cancer Day. So that will be Wednesday, my radio, 11 a.m. Nigerian time. Thank you so much for watching today, and we'll see you in the next few weeks.